Welcome back to the channel. I'm Mr. Empower of Mr.EmpowerTV, and today we're talking about a major moment for Africa's global financial reputation. So 4 countries have officially been removed from the Financial Action Task Force, or the FATF gray list. So let's be clear, this list is controlled by powerful financial blocs, not essentially African institutions. So yes, it's a symbolic win, but also a reminder of how much of the global system still revolves around external validation. So this isn't just about banking, it's about power, reputation, and the narratives shaping Africa's place in global finance. So we're going to react to the news, break it down, and talk about why we shouldn't need anyone's approval to build trust. So let's get into it. So officially on October 24th, 2025, the FATF officially announced that 4 African countries have been taken off of its gray list. So that is a headline, but behind that headline is a deeper conversation, right? So that's why we're going to have it. Being on the gray list means increased international monitoring for money laundering and terrorism financing. But it also means African nations are often judged by standards that we did not create for ourselves. So getting off the gray list, it shows progress, no doubt, for countries like Nigeria and South Africa, 2 major economies. They tightened their systems, right? In Mozambique and Burkina Faso, they strengthened their frameworks, right? So that's commendable work. But let's not forget, the world should not only recognize African countries when an external committee approves of them, right? So real sovereignty is about defining trust on our own terms. So let's go through each country individually, talk about their head of state, their leader, right? How and when they got on the FATF list, and what the improvements were that got them off of the list. So those 4 countries again: Burkina Faso, Mozambique, Nigeria, and South Africa. So first, we're going to talk about Burkina Faso and Ibrahim Traore. So the gray list entry date was 2021, right? And the key reforms were tighter financial supervision and anti-money laundering enforcement. And so the positive impacts after this implementation was or is more favorable conditions for international cooperation, being seen as more ready to work on a global level. So shout out to Burkina Faso for that. Secondly, Mozambique and the head of state, Felipe Nyusi, right? So they went on the gray list back in 2022. So the key reforms that they implemented were enhanced financial intelligence and coordination, right? So the positive impact that was made by these new policies being implemented, strategies being followed, are strengthened banking sector credibility. So shout out to Felipe Nyusi and the people of Mozambique. Next, South Africa, right? So the head of state for South Africa is Cyril Ramaphosa, and they went on the gray list back in 2023. And the key reforms that they made were the strengthening of the anti-money laundering oversight and other improved investigatory actions. So those impacts affected them positively in the light of boosting investor confidence and easier global transactions. Shout out to all of the South African people. And next, we're going to talk about Nigeria. So the head of state of Nigeria is Bola Tinubu, and they went on the gray list back in 2023, with those key reforms improving the industry for banking being central bank reforms altogether and stronger regulatory frameworks. And the positive impact for the nation was or is greater foreign investment potential and reduced compliance costs, right? So there are a bunch of countries still on this gray list, right? So some of them that we'll just mention quickly: Algeria, Angola, Bolivia, Bulgaria, Cameroon, Cote d'Ivoire, DRC, Democratic Republic of the Congo, Haiti, Kenya, Lebanon, Monaco, Nepal. So yeah, guys, Venezuela, Vietnam, and Yemen, Virgin Islands, right? So shout out to the countries that we just mentioned, those four. It's, getting off the list is one thing, right? So we're happy to see that, but staying off means maintaining those systems, right? So again, the gray list is a tool, right, that the FATF uses to flag countries for weak financial control. And like we said, if you saw the reasoning, yes, being on that list slows down investments, banking, and trade. But the kicker is, Africa doesn't own the list, right? It's a mechanism set by the powerful economies to dictate who's in compliance, right, and who's not. So it's not a thing that, Africa can't self-regulate, because global systems demand it. It's a thing that, we don't need that stamp of approval for reform, right? But, the impact is heavy, right? Because, perception affects money, right? So yes, countries, getting off the gray list, they often see stronger investment confidence, smoother transactions, and more trade opportunities, right? But that's because global investments, they follow signals from these institutions like the FATF, not necessarily because these countries suddenly became trustworthy, right? So again, shout out to Nigeria, South Africa, Mozambique, and Burkina Faso. They've been doing great work, and now the world is catching back up and recognizing them, right? So again, getting off the list is one step. Staying off means maintaining these systems and keeping up with shifting the narrative that's placed on us by outside continents, right? So again, us as Africans, African nations shouldn't have to dance for approval, but this next chapter should be about building African-led financial systems, strengthening intra-African trade, and defining trust on our own terms, not waiting for, again, that outside stamp of approval. So shout out to the 4 African nations stepping off the FATF gray list. It's a milestone, but let's be real, it's also a mirror, right? It shows the work we've done and the power we still need to claim. So those other African nations still on the list, we're rooting for you guys to not only get off the list, but hold ourselves accountable to being greater and focusing on this intra-Africa trade. So if you found this breakdown valuable, don't forget to hit like, comment, and subscribe to Mr. Empower TV. Drop your thoughts below. Do African nations need global approval to prove their strength, or is it time to set our own standards? This is Mr. Empower of Mr. Empower TV, and until next time, peace.